Hey, my name is Jeremy, and it would be my privilege to be able to show you around a little bit here on my favorite instrument, the piano. I do lessons and instruction. I have a studio in both the Memorial area and the Sugar Land area. JeremyGoodMusic.com is my website for that, and love to be able to as well write a song for you if that ever is a need of yours. YourStoryMusic.com is where we create original songs for your love story. So again, JeremyGoodMusic.com. Love to be able to see you soon.
Welcome to Successful Living with Bill Napick. Every week we talk with interesting people in a variety of professions, and along the way, get ideas to enhance success in all categories of your life. Successful Living with Bill Napick starts right now. And here's your host, Bill Napick.
And welcome to the show, Successful Living with Bill Napick. That's me. And today, Jeremy Good. He is a professional musician, teacher, producer, writer, so accomplished. Jeremy, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Bill. Really appreciate it.
And of course, you can hear Jeremy playing the piano in the background. And today, I really want to bring forth, as a keyboard player myself, Jeremy, of course, is a keyboard player playing the piano right here today with us. It is such a super instrument. We've been through this pandemic, and if you haven't thought about playing the piano, of all the instruments, I'm going to say I choose the keyboard every time. What do you think, Jeremy?
I'd have to agree with that. You know, the keyboard is so versatile, and frankly, with all the sampling and sounds and that sort of thing that's there now, you really can emulate all different instruments as well, and it's really just a good fundamental instrument to have under your fingers.
You can't go wrong. So if you're out there thinking about taking up the trumpet, I say don't do it. Nothing against the trumpet, but there are some tremendous instruments out there. But like Jeremy said, the keyboard enables you to access all the sounds with a modern technology, all the different sounds with synthesizers. You can have sax sounds, drums, and everything else. And the other thing about the keyboard is in your life, there's always going to be keyboards around, at least historically. You may be on a business trip. You may find a piano in a hotel where you could play or at a church. So there's so many great things, the accessibility and the personal satisfaction. We talk about successful living. When we're doing things we enjoy, it's just therapeutic for us.
Absolutely. You know, there's music being, it's been called the language of the soul. And oftentimes it's interesting to be able to sit down and I'll talk with my students sometime about, say you can play something one way and it kind of has a certain sound. And what I'll say to my students is I'll say, what's playing on the screen right now as you're playing along? Is this a happy scene? Is this a sad scene? Is there a chase going on? What's going on? And you can do these different sounds and different textures as you go along in piano and make these kind of different atmospheres, if you will.
In fact, think about when we think about movies and you can watch a scene with no sound.
Oh, it's completely different.
And you put some music to it. It's everything.
There's no doubt, yeah. And so there's this great language of music, and the piano is really a foundational and fundamental. And I think the reason why, first off, I've got a slew of kids at home, and my 3-year-old can come up right now, and she can make noise just like that. You know, you mentioned the trumpet. You have to learn the embouchure, and you have to learn how these things work and all the different mechanics. There certainly are technical things that you have to think about with piano, but with the piano, you can make sound right away. And the thing I like about it is very visual and it's very linear. So from a logical standpoint, and I'll talk about the guitar in just a second, but from a logical standpoint, the high sounds are up here, and I go all the way down, and I got my low sounds down here. And so it makes a lot of sense just from that standpoint. It's laid out. It's very
left
linear.
to right.
I can see it left to right, and it's all there. Now, in the guitar, I think maybe, Bill, you and I even talked about this. I just took up the guitar a few years ago, and the challenge was you can go four-way way of thinking of things that is not true on piano. So I can be going down, but the tone can be going up, or I can be going up, and the tone can be going down. So it's a little, on the piano, it's a little more linear and very visual.
And I would say on the guitar, that would be my second choice.
Oh,
The guitar is a wonderful instrument.
Incredible.
Especially
It's
sounds
incredible.
good with bands, of course, but I love a solo guitar as much as I love a solo piano. But the thing I will tell you about the guitar, I think it's more difficult because you have to use the fingers, have to be able to construct chords, and I think it's very difficult versus on the piano as it's laid out flat. you are able to, as long as you can reach the notes, you can construct the chords, the accompaniments, the bass. So all those things happen on the piano. But first, let's tell people what you do, Jeremy, as far as what you offer people, because I'm going to tell you, this show, I am a big advocate of the keyboard instruments, of the piano, the organ, but today, especially the piano. And we're going to give you the full service right here today. You're going to hear about the instrument from especially your point of view, Jeremy, and mine. You're going to also, if you say, hey, I think I might take piano lessons, even if you started them before and you want to continue,
Sure.
we have it all for you today, because
Yep.
people can reach out to you. You teach piano.
Yep.
And do so much. Let's tell people all the things you do.
Yeah, and I'll just start at the end there. What you were just mentioning, I've got a number of adult students that have come to me returning after maybe decades of being away from the instrument, and have found an interest again. And so that's been really fulfilling for me to be able to give folks something to work on and think about, because it really does make your brain engage in different ways that it normally wouldn't. So what I do, I've been in the music industry professionally since 1995, when I consider that first date, because that was when I received my first paycheck to play the piano. I still couldn't believe it
They actually
happened.
gave you money.
They get. I'm not making this up. So when it was at a church in South Carolina, and it was around Easter time. They'd asked me to come in and play for this thing, and I thought, yeah, okay, that's fine. I'll come do that. And I got there, and there was a $75 check on my
you
stand.
go.
And my first thought was, what's this guy like want me to come over and cut the grass too, or something? Like, what's this for? I literally did not. The thought had not like entered my mind that that's what you could do. So I was in school, and ended up studying to get my both my undergrad and my master's degree in jazz piano. And so I started down the road of music. I call it music industry, because anytime I tell someone I'm a musician, the first question is usually, what band are you in? In music, I found over the last 25 years, it's really more of an entrepreneurial pursuit. There are lots of different avenues to go down, and I have found interest, and I've found a lot of success, I guess, in different ventures, whether that be performing, whether that be instruction and teaching, whether that be writing, whether that be arranging, whether that be producing in the studio. A lot of my work now revolves around the church, which is a great love of mine. I lead the music program at my church out here on the southwest side of town. I also teach during the week, and I also will play for various services, whether it be a wedding ceremony or a memorial service, or a special function, whether that be at someone's house or a restaurant or whatever else. And then also I'm into writing a lot, and I love writing songs. I've got a new site that I'm pushing now called YourStoryMusic.com, where we write custom songs for your love story. So people are getting married, and they say, hey, what's your first song going to be, or your first dance? I come along and I get to know the couple and write a song that kind of tells their story, a musical caricature, if you will. And,
So you're tailoring the song for the people getting married, or
Right.
it could be someone that's already married,
Or-
an anniversary,
exactly,
or a
exactly,
surprise gift, and
exactly.
say, "Hey, honey, this is this is not a Valentine's Day. This is a regular day, but I have a special gift for you."
And they'll have it
And
for
there
the
you go.
one of our little slogans is, after the ice sculptures melt at the wedding, and all these other gifts can kind of fade away. This song you'll have, we've done this for a number of couples now, and it's great because they'll come back and say, this is really, really cool thing that they have for years and years. But no, it's with the education side of things. Bill, you and I were talking earlier about.
Let's tell that website again in case
Sure.
someone wants their own song.
Yeah, YourStoryMusic.com is the site for the custom love songs there. Your Story Music.
And then your other website, if someone wants to seek you out for a piano lesson, what is that?
Right. So my other material can be found at JeremyGoodMusic.com. Jeremy Good Music, Jeremy, and then my last name is Good, just like the adjective. As my wife says, there ain't no barbecue in this name, unfortunately. In Houston, they got the E there in the end. But for us, it's just GOODmusic.com.
How it should be, quite
There
frankly.
you go.
So going back to, and you touch upon something I thought about, so many elements to music. Even when we think about writing a song for someone, how it lives on. The songs that we love by our favorite bands or soloists, live on for decades and decades. That's so great to construct a song for someone. That is so awesome. But the other thing I thought about is far as what you do that has a certain special skill level, and that's in the performance of music. For example, even with public speaking, some people are not comfortable with public speaking. They may be able to communicate in certain ways, but to get in front of a crowd, they can freeze up. Same thing with music. Quite frankly, and you have played, and I've seen you played, and I've had the opportunity to play in front of thousands.
Right.
And that can be alarming, but that takes a certain skill. But it also takes the confidence in what you've learned musically.
Right, exactly. Yeah, there's a great John Mayer quote that I heard years ago that has really stuck with me. You know, he said, when I was in high school and I was really learning how to play my guitar, I'd be in my bedroom and I'd just imagine that I was in front of just thousands of people playing my guitar. And he said, that's kind of what I was thinking about. He said, now, when I'm in front of thousands of people, I just pretend like I'm in my bedroom playing my guitar. And, you know, truth be told, it's when you're in the larger venues, you are kind of just in your own space, and you're there, and you're not necessarily aware of the volume of people until the song is over and there's some sort of response. So that's an interesting thing. It can be more difficult and challenging to play just for 3 or 4 people that are staring at you and really looking at what's going on.
And listening to every note.
Every single thing, right.
I was thinking about that because somewhere along the line, as I've seen the movie Woodstock, it's almost like it'd be easier to play for 20, 30, 50,000. They may not hear all the mistakes because they're busy doing other stuff. But like you said, where it's playing for 2 or 3, like I did just last week, there's like 2, 3 people in the venue, and I'm like, oh, man, they're actually hearing what I'm doing.
And they're listening and paying attention. Yes.
So anyway, the piano. Let's tell some of the basics. Noodle around, if you would, while you talk.
Yeah, sure.
But some of the basics, you talk about the jazz style. Take a song maybe that someone knows or...
So you can, take any really song and melody, and you can really do whatever you want to do with it. And that's kind of the fun thing of jazz, and that I can even take a more simple song, like one that someone might know would be like the simple kid song Mary Had a Little Lamb. Like the melody goes, and we're used to hearing something like this, and the accompaniment part is what we would call that. But in jazz, you can take and do all sorts of things. You can... and do all sorts of kind of fun stuff with it there.
That is awesome, and I've always wanted to be able to do that. Every once in a while I get close, but not often enough. So let's tell people, if you are listening out there and you say, you know what, maybe I'm tired of Netflix and that it'd be better to sit in front of a keyboard. And quite frankly, if you were a total beginner of the keyboard, let me tell you, this is the best time to do it, 2020, because just for a few $100s you can get, and I think the Yamahas have the best sound as far as electric pianos go, but you could get a simple Yamaha piano for a couple $100, $500 if you're going to splurge or beyond, but for $500 you can get a solid sound. You can take that piano and learn, either pick up where you're at or learn from the basics for a few $100, much more constructive, better for your mind than a lot of things that we end up doing. So someone calls you up and says, look, I don't know anything about the piano. I love the sound. What are some of the first things that you take someone through?
Well, the first thing I'd say, come on out, let's hang out, and let me just kind of hear some of where you're at and what you'd like to accomplish. And there are lots of what we call method books, and a method book is great because it says they're going to assume nothing, and I think that's a healthy thing for me. Anytime I'm learning something new, I want someone to assume that you're teaching
clean slate.
You're teaching a kindergartner here. Yeah, I don't know anything about this thing. Tell me what's going on. So they'll talk. Okay, here's your finger numbers. Here's the hand shape. Here's what's going on. Here's how you sit at the piano. Here's how you do all these things. And we start from those basic blocks, and we just build and build and build and build and build. And it's great because it really walks through a nice, cohesive, methodical way of going through the learning process. Because it is the piano, in one sense, the great news, Bill, is that, as you well know, it's very It's very approachable, and it's very accessible to start making sounds and to start making some sounds fairly quickly. The bad news, or as I like to look at it as the good news, is you never run out of things to learn.
I was going to say, whatever level you're at,
You'll never stop learning.
there's always someone else that's going to
Yep.
amaze you more
Yep.
than the last
Yep.
person that you've seen that was super awesome. But the other thing is that's the good news. You're right, because till the day we're gone, we can always learn. And music, I will tell you, is therapy. Whether you're playing for a crowd, but even when you're in your room or in a living room playing a piano, it's so therapeutic to
Absolutely.
sit and do that in your own space, to learn, make your mistakes, and all those things.
Yeah, and again, just that whole idea of being able to express yourself and sit down, and sometimes, you can just come into the room and it's, maybe late at night, and you just want to just kind of relax, and you just want to kind of play around, and it's almost, in some senses, once you have an idea of some of the language, you're able to almost doodle, and the image I have in my mind of that is, if you give a young kid a blank sheet of paper, they understand how to hold a crayon or a pencil or whatever, and they'll just start to kind of make shapes, and they'll kind of make, these different sounds, and you can sit down and do the same sort of thing. Again, having some sort of basic understanding of these sounds and how these different melodies and harmonies work certainly enhances your ability to make some more advanced pictures, if you will. But it's a really neat opportunity to be able to sit down and do something like that. You mentioned Netflix. I love sitting down and just kind of turning my brain off and watching a show or two. But one of the things that when you're doing music, your brain is doing just the opposite. It's relaxing, yet there's still engagement, and there's still a lot of motion and a lot of things happening there.
It was interesting. A few years ago, with the company I worked for, 2 people left the company, and I get a call from them 6-7 months. They said, "What kind of piano should I buy?" So these were people that are in their late 50s, and they reached out to me to say, "Listen, I have more time on my hands, and I want to learn the piano."
Yep.
I gave my recommendations, which I just did. The Yamaha Electrics, I think, are super great.
Yep, I agree.
Tremendous value. For someone to start from the very basics, and they say, "Jeremy, man, but it's such a long road. I'll never play that good." What do you tell people? How do you encourage them?
Yeah, again, I think, and that's what I was alluding to earlier. It's good to just sit down and kind of get an idea and a realistic idea of what's going to be accomplished and what can be accomplished. There are certain things on the piano I know I'll never do. I will never play a Rachmaninoff concerto at Carnegie Hall. That's something I'll never do.
Me neither.
And I'm okay with that. I really am. That was never a goal of mine to begin with, years ago even. So, assuming you have, again, a good realistic goal and basic aptitude to be able to play some songs on the piano is not an unrealistic goal. It's very feasible and it's very attainable to do. So, beginning with something that's going to be realistic in mind, sticking with a plan, and getting in there and saying, it does take time. There's not any quick method. I joke with my students all the time. If I had a serum that I could just kind of somehow insert, say, all of a sudden you've got the piano knowledge there, then that would be something that would be maybe good, but then maybe not, because you wouldn't appreciate, when you do accomplish something. There is that sense of accomplishment, and there is that sense of, hey, I had a goal and I set out to do this, and I started this book and I looked at the end of it. I have my students look at the end of the book and say, does this song or does this music make any sense to you right now? And most of the time, there's just kind of this blank stare, and they, no, it doesn't. Well, in about 3 or 4 months, it will. And I'll say, the book's not changing. I promise this is not a magic book. I'm not changing the pages on you. But when you get there, you'll be the one that's changed, and you'll have the new information and knowledge now to know and interpret what that means.
So we are here, the full package today, inspiring you. Play the piano. Take up the piano.
Yeah.
Forget the other instruments.
go.
Not only that, they're inexpensive for the value. In addition, you can call Jeremy. Jeremy, what's the phone number should they want your services?
Sure. I've got the Houston number, 281-221-6229.
One more time.
281 221-6229.
The website?
It's Jeremy Good Music, JeremyGood music.com.
JeremyGoodmusic.com. That's all you need. Talk to Jeremy. Tell him your goals. I want to learn 2 songs in a month, whatever it may be. He'll walk you through that. Also, he'll construct a song. He'll write a song for you.
Yes.
With the music and everything. What's that website?
That's yourstorymusic.com. Yourstorymusic.com.
And let's say we have about a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes if I stop talking. What else would you like people to know? And how about noodling around a little bit more on that piano? Because I think that's going to be fun. People can hear this show and hear the piano. I always wonder, Jeremy, how did guys like Ray Charles, without being able to read music, do so well and sound so good? What's your theory on someone that is not sighted that just plays incredibly?
I'd have to say that is an absolute
That's a miracle.
That's a gift of God. That's what that is. Those guys are, I have a huge respect for and appreciation for the guys that have kind of come at it from a non-traditional standpoint as far as learning
Stevie
goes.
Wonder.
Yeah, of course, Stevie had his sight until 7 or 8 years old or whatever it was, but still, I mean, he learned basically when he was without sight. Yeah, so it's an amazing thing. The piano fits. Not to take anything away from those guys at all. The piano fits underneath the fingers and it makes sense, but I say that as a sighted person that has stared at this for years. So someone that's not had that benefit, man, it's just, it's
Like you
an
said,
amazing
it's a
thing.
gift. So once again, JeremyGoodmusic.com. I'm Bill Napick. I'm here to encourage you. I've played the keyboard my whole life, and I love it as long as I can. I think it's probably even good for your mental health, physical health, all those things. JeremyGoodmusic.com. Jeremy, one last word.
Just an appreciation, Bill, for your time today and being able to come out here and just talk about something that I love and something that I've built my life around as far as a career goes. And so I'm just thankful for that and thankful for the opportunity.
And the beauty is, whatever age you are, if you have grandchildren, children, I say the piano. That's my vote. I don't care what anybody else says. You've been listening to Successful Living with Bill Napick right here today with Jeremy Good. Go to Radio Bill. If you like to go to past shows, radiobill.net. And if you want those piano lessons or if you want Jeremy to write you a song, JeremyGoodmusic.com. Thank you, Jeremy, for being on the show.
Thank you, Bill. Hey, my name is Jeremy, and it would be my privilege to be able to show you around a little bit here on my favorite instrument, the piano. I do lessons and instruction. I have a studio in both the Memorial area and the Sugar Land area. JeremyGoodmusic.com is my website for that, and love to be able to as well write a song for you if that ever is a need of yours. YourStoryMusic.com is where we create original songs for your love story. So again, JeremyGoodmusic.com. Love to be able to see you soon.